Welcome back. All right, so game number 1 is done. Let's go ahead and do a quick review of that, and then game number 2 is getting started. So Detroit in against Tampa. This did not go the way that I think any of us thought it would. Detroit shows again, do not take them lightly. You will regret it. Hard work. The fact that Thomas Greiss has gone from maybe being a bit overrated with the Islanders to being very underrated with Detroit. And I know the numbers have been ugly, but you know what? Greiss has adjusted. He's been much better the last couple of weeks. So, the shots were 5-1 for Tampa Bay at 8 minutes, and it looked like Tampa might run him out of the building, right? Early on, Tampa Bay is getting all the pressure. Gibson, not tested really until the halfway mark. Chris Gibson ends up taking the net because Curtis McElhinney was a late scratch for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So, Gibson getting his first start as a Tampa Bay goaltender, and for Gibson, he's been like a good AHL goaltender. He's had a couple of cups of coffee, as they're called at the NHL level. Not much else though. And I don't know that today's gonna go on that resume for him. It was a fast game with few whistles that first period. Greiss really sharp early on, and important that he was. Point passes one to Johnson. Johnson fires one just wide. Some good rush chances for Tampa. So again, it felt like this was a really good Tampa Bay game early on. The Bolts get a power play on a hold by Hronek. That's killed off. And then with 1:15 left in the first period, Detroit gets a power play. And Larkin scores during that power play from Ernie and Hronek at 19:47. So team leader in points, Philip Hronek gets another one. And it's 1-0 Detroit after one. And you're looking at that and going, can't hold up, right? It's Tampa. They got to fire back. Second period, Larkin stirred things up in the first minute. Shots had evened up at that point in the game. Merrill Merrill had a shot that was caught by Gibson. So I was keeping track of, all right, so is Gibson having a good game or not? And there were some half-decent signs there. Bolts picking up their game, but the Wings not getting shots at that point, which, again, should be expected. Tampa Bay's the contender. Detroit's the bottom-feeding team, as it were, right? This is how it's supposed to work. 3-on-1 for the Bolts. Greiss denied Stamkos with the paddle of his stick. Glendening then had a chance that was saved. The shots were 6-3 in favor of Tampa at the half, though. Tampa Bay controlled large portions of this game, which the score won't tell you. Both teams limiting good chances at that point in the game. Tampa, it was pointed out at this stage, hadn't scored since the first period yesterday, and that was the 4-minute mark yesterday that they scored against Detroit. Remember, they got those 2 quick goals and looked like they might blow them out, and then it didn't happen. It just carried over into today. Filppula scores to make it 2-0 from Glendening and Nemesnikov at 16:05. So late in the second period, Detroit takes a 2-0 lead. And it was kind of an out-of-nowhere goal. Again, they hadn't been giving very many chances to Detroit. Definitely not grade A chances. So, yeah. And then Rasmussen would score from Juice and Mantha at 16:34. So 2 goals for Detroit in 29 seconds. They scored 2 goals. So they blow this open, and I wrote on the board, this is ridiculous. This is a game that, again, for Tampa, a team that's fighting for first place, who's happy right now? Florida fans. Carolina fans are too. Rasmussen scoring that one. Then there's a post for Braden Point with 1:20 left. After Point hits the post, the puck goes the other way. Mantha sends it to Stahl, and Stahl scores from the point at 18:58. And I put under there, Greiss must be giddy. Like, Thomas Greiss, a couple of games ago, they announced he'd only had a goal support of 1.6 goals per game, the lowest goal support of any goaltender in the NHL. And here they are with a 4-0 lead after 2 periods against a team you can argue had outplayed them, or at the very least it was evenly played. Of the 4 goals that were scored, I'll say 2 of them probably ones that Gibson would look on video and say, I probably should have had that. And again, it's hard to get too upset with a goaltender that's the number 3 that probably didn't know until a few hours before the game he was even going to play. But again, for Tampa, it does expose that they could probably use picking up another goaltender at the deadline. It's a statement I made when McElhinney was having some problems there, and it's a statement I'll repeat now. They could really use another goaltender. Third period, early chance for Foote was stopped. The Bolts would press, and the Bolts had a very good third period. Hedman scores from Stamkos and Foote at 4:12. And the whole booth on NBC Sports at that point says, All right, here we go. Tampa comeback. You can just feel it that they're like, all right, so here's where Tampa comes back, and not really. So Tampa Bay would press for another, and they did. But Grace was really good in that third period. Played very, very well. Glendening had a breakaway. That was stopped by Gibson. The shots were 8-3 for the Bolts at the half. So here we are, 6-3 Bolts at the half, 5-1 Bolts at 8 minutes, 8-3 Bolts at the first half of each period. They were the better team. And then Detroit just finds ways to win this. With 8:40 left, there's a power play for the Wings. That was killed off. They then decide to pull the goalie with 6 minutes and 10 seconds left. That leads to an empty net goal. Helm from Glendening and Nemesnikov at 14:19. And you know what? I'm fine with pulling the goalie. Usually down by 3 and 6 minutes left. I'm like, what are you doing? But it is Detroit. And there's going to be this perception of, hey, Grace has had some rough spots this year. If we can get some shots and some goals, these things could happen, right? We could maybe just get that first one, make it 4-2. So I understand what they were doing. So that made it 5-1. Then with 5:10 left, Tampa Bay gets a power play. And they pulled Gibson again, because why not? You're down by 4, but sure. So they pulled him again. My opinion on pulling the goaltender has completely changed from where it was a couple years ago. I'm like, whatever, sure, go for it. So they killed that off, did Detroit. And then with 2:55 left, there's another power play for Tampa. The problem with this, of course, is that means Detroit can ice the puck at will, which they did. And they don't have to worry about it actually being called icing because they're shorthanded. So 6-on-4, Tampa had looks. They had opportunities. Could not get a goal. Tampa Bay drops to 26-10-2. Detroit goes to 13-22-5. February of 2011 was the last time that Detroit won in Tampa. Let that sink in. It's been over 10 years since Detroit won a game in Tampa Bay. It ends a 17-game losing streak for the Wings in Tampa. So this was a big statement win for Tampa, and of course, or for Detroit over Tampa. And it's interesting because again, we're going to be looking at the draft and draft lotteries and all this. With Detroit going on a nice little run here, it keeps them ahead of Buffalo, obviously. It also, with that win, I believe they're now 1 point ahead of Ottawa again. So we'll see how this turns out and what happens with the draft lottery when the season's over, right? So there are 3 stars in this one: Grace, Glendening, and Mantha. I can't make an argument for anybody on Tampa being a star. Maybe Hedman, maybe Stamkos, but honestly, when you lose 5-1, yeah, the 3 stars should be for the other team. Shots in this one: 7-5 Tampa in the first, 9-8 Detroit in the second, 13-4 in favor of Tampa in the third. Final shots 28-18 for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So again, Detroit, they didn't have a great game, but Gibson didn't have a great game either, and Grace did. So they just had the better goaltending in this. Power plays: Detroit 1 for 2, Tampa Bay 0 for 3. And that's those 2 in the third period that they had 6-on-4s, couldn't score. Hits 24-21 for Detroit. So that's impressive. And the block shots were 18-9 for Detroit as well. Grace, 27 saves on 28 shots. Again, very good game. This is the third really good game he's had in a row. Gibson saves 13 out of 17. And again, it just shows that Tampa Bay could use some depth in the goaltending spot that they do not have currently. And then the weird thing was they got ready for the third period. So they finished out the third, they get ready for the third, or finished out the second, get ready for the third. They had a promo for WrestleMania next weekend, and they had Roman Reigns doing the promo for it. He was in character, which I'm a wrestling fan, so I get it. But if you're not a wrestling fan, you're watching this, you'd be like, what did I just watch? So I'm not sure that it's going to bring in casual viewers. I'm not sure it's going to make anybody curious about it. I think it's going to make people concerned for who this guy is and why does he talk like that. So yeah, they had Roman Reigns in character, and then the announcers talked about WrestleMania, and thus begins the weirdness of the WWE being on Peacock, the association with NBC, and the cross-pollination between hockey and wrestling begins. So it's weird, and I'll report on it when we see it, but it was weird. Unless Roman sees this. Roman, if you see this, I swear it was fantastic. You were great. You were awesome. He is the head of the table. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. Let me know your thoughts on this game in the comment section below. And this is why you never take a game for granted, and this is why I watch every game. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happen upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Happy Easter. It's hockey all day for me, so it's just kind of another day. But hey, thanks again for watching.